like 40 minutes. Sorry, my friend.
Hi.
Hello.
Sorry.
Hey. Thanks for taking the time, Cecilia, to talk to us.
No problem.
How many meetings are you in every day?
First question.
3 to 5, or maybe 5 to 7. I don't know.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay. Cool.
Okay.
So first, maybe we introduce conference call.
Yeah. So conference call is a format that we started as ONOFF to talk with young collectives and now also schools to explore their ideas of how they started, what is their ambition, and why are they actually doing it and not going to big offices. To also trigger the idea in young students to maybe do their own thing and try to figure out their own way of what architecture is for them. And now we are in conference call number 14 already with Bergen Arkitekthøgskole. Is that how you say it? With our dear friend Matyas.
Say hi, Matyas.
Hi, Matyas, that we know from Berlin, from Ramlauer, and the principal of BAS.
Yeah, Cecilie Andersson.
Cecilie Andersson, hello.
Hey.
We are Dan and Annika from Berlin, from ONOFF, and we're gonna start asking you some questions now. Don't be scared, it's easy. First question is, what is BAS? What is the idea of BAS?
Yeah. BAS is a small architect school, and we have visitors every week who tells us with their own words what we are, what challenges we have, and what benefits and ambitions we have. And for me, it becomes this agglomeration of all the different voices that come here. That is the students, it is the teachers, it is all our visitors, and the interest we manage to make in the relation between what is going on here and what is going on in society. So many of our projects, they relate to society. We don't have a few client courses, but we have courses all through the years where we work with actual situations. So we work with society.
Yeah, this is actually just to introduce also why I thought of BAS as a good collective to interview. I think BAS is sort of run more as a collective than a school in some ways and aspects. And I was also wondering about institutions and how do you frame yourself as an institution as opposed to a practice, and how do you, I don't know, I find it really fascinating to talk about this institution that is BAS. So
I guess if we compared our economy, it would be with a small size architect office. So we run an entire school for the same money that they can run, I don't know if you call it mid-size or small size, but an office of maybe 15, 20 architects. And we have no full-time, or we have full-time staff in the administration, but we don't have full-time teachers. So all of them have at least one foot out in profession.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
If it had not depend on, if we would not have so in our school, and so the only thing we as a school can do is to embrace. It would be a quite poor school and with poor facilities, but because of our students and because of this big nice factory where we are hosted, we have plenty of space, plenty of opportunities to work in so many different modes, and we have students who manage to find initiatives to engage in this.
Great. Maybe you can talk about the beginning of BAS. I think how it all started, and because it's only been in the silo for some 10, 15 years, but before, and you attended BAS in those years as well, I guess. So maybe you have some.
But I was maybe already. It had existed for at least 10 years when I started as a student, so I was not in those pioneer years. Mm-hmm. But because when you talk to people who really experienced that period, it was far from an institution. I've talked to the one administrational staff. She said she was the one who had to put up all the wires for the telephone system herself. And yeah, it was far from an institution, and it was firstly situated in a school that was to be demolished. Then it moved up to Fløyen, to a very, very nice house on one of the mountain tops of the city, with their own fireplace and beautiful conditions. But it was a school that was about being in the field. So before being established as a school, it had 10 years of experience as being the field school for all the other architect schools. And architects and students from other schools who came to the west coast of Norway to engage in real situations and to analyze and understand landscape and conditions in new ways.
Did you have a school or another institution or architects that inspired BAS or that inspired the foundation of BAS, or get an inspiration to them?
Yes, and I think there are both names to be named, and then there are this whole the time of it, because in many ways you can say that we are one of many schools that were elaborated in the aftermath of '68, and being these radical new initiatives that sometimes sprung out as small initiatives within bigger schools, and in our case managed in the end to establish as a school of its own. But that was through a long struggle where, if it hadn't been for the former principle of AA, for instance, we would probably not be approved with a study system that has been appropriated and accepted by the state. And if it had not been for Oskar Hansen, we would not have grounded our study so much in open form. And it was very much also to thank our first principal and founder, Svein Hatløy, who fought his way through to establish a small school on the contrary of the premises that lay in these days, where they had been starting to think of a new school, but not in Bergen. That was supposed to be somewhere else. So, and also even the Architect Association was a very strong factor in this.
Yeah, and maybe Matyas can also answer about what makes BAS unique in his opinion, because he's a master's student there, and maybe just quickly you can talk about your experience.
Yeah, and also if you compare BAS to other schools, like you also attended the TU in Berlin and you were studying before. So what makes BAS unique or different to you than other schools?
Well, especially compared to the Technical University in Berlin, I think it's the most interesting part is that BAS is not afraid to experiment these things. Like it's like an open platform where many young people can create a semester course, like a master course, which is really nice. And I think it could end up like a bad course or a good course, but I think this spirit not to be afraid of just try it, and go for it when it makes sense. I think it's really important, this experimental part of it as well. Of course, there are many aspects, but this one for me was the strongest one.
Okay. And we were showing an image here of Tuba Kuba. Was that created as part of a course? I'm not 100%. Yeah.
That was second grade students who did the course, where they first planned and made small models of this. We call it the climatic chamber, and it's a course that has been running all through the start of the school, I guess, but in various forms. And throughout the last 3 years, we have formed it more and more into actual building assignments that have real purposes for long time use. Because we can then test much more specific issues related to materials and properties.
Yeah, the hands-on is one of the most.
One more student joining.
Adam. Hey Adam, how's it going?
Hi.
Good to see you again.
Oh, you know him?
Yeah, he was in Berlin 2 weeks ago.
Ah, yeah.
Okay. Sorry, Cecilia, just a quick question. You have 40 minutes? Do you have 40 minutes, or do you have to be somewhere sooner?
No, I can
Okay, great.
Cool.
stay until 3.
All right, great.
Then we might talk about the setting. So what about the silo and the setting of BAS, and how does it influence, inspire, or maybe even distract the students from working?
The silo, I don't think it distracts the students much. There are other distractions. There are a lot of noise and there are a lot of conditions that may distract, but I think the silo is just silent, being there and being a very nice room to enter and to imagine different experimentations and explorations within. So now this spring we will have 9th of March, we will have a very nice arrangement with the opening concert of Proudest, where there will be 2 special pieces composed for that room, and that's very nice to initiate different use of the room and to use it. Later there will be a very nice exhibition with Linda Benglis, an American ceramic.
Yeah, it's true that the silo, it's not really something you go through every day in the school. Like, you have to go there to, you know, to enter it. You don't, like, it doesn't really,
but
it's not part of the everyday.
3 of the chambers have pianos, and they are very seldom used. But when we invite composers to visit, they really say, and you have pianos there?
Yeah, you mean these church pianos, right? Like the electric ones, organs, yeah. But also, I mean, compared to other schools which are really clean and, you know, designed as institutions, this the silo is more like been inhabited by the students. It's almost like squatted in some way in the beginnings, maybe, and now it's slowly being cleaned up by the students. And I think that's the amazing part of this environment.
But it's not only slowly being cleaned, it's also continuously a new production of mess. So
yeah, true.
I don't fear that it will be too clean.
Leads us already to the next question of students are involved in rebuilding and building their own school, which you already talked about the renovation process. So how is this all organized? Imagine students having to study and then at the same time maintaining their own school.
For the outsiders, it's difficult to imagine this, you know, the safety maybe issues of working with tools and everybody running around. And also, Cecilia, you ran the library renovation course, so maybe you can just talk about the organization.
Yeah, but in that course, we tried to keep some focus on safety issues and measures. So there are things we keep within. We never use for students scaffoldings that are too high for them to climb without certificates. They're not supposed to drive with the truck if they don't have the forklift certificate. And yeah, but we could probably be more strict. But we try to give safety courses, and we try to act when we see that there are issues that are irresponsible. And we have responsible students. They are older than the average when it comes to student average, and they are more mature and more responsible, I think, for their own study situation. So we give them that responsibility, and they act on that in a way.
And it has to do with this one-to-one relationship, which is really pushed at BAS. Like this image is, I think, one of the earlier trials with the wall, the insulation wall made out of organic material, and then also.
I can just tilt. Oh yeah, this one.
I think it's this.
I thought it was this one.
Oh, now we see the image as well. Yeah.
Okay.
But also, like, just translating these courses, like the Tuba Kuba was part of the climatic course, how it translates throughout the years into also renovating these different rooms, like the 6.5 floor, the library, the cantina.
Yeah. Some things we don't use students for. So now we have just finished renovating the outer facade, for instance. That would have been, and that would just have been time consuming. So we try to focus on learning outcome and to provide tasks where you can explore a lot. And this year, the students have made a ramp and a new access to the silo basement, for instance. Mm-hmm. It doesn't sound like a big task, but the way it was exposed and performed, it was a very big task. It really had to deal with a lot of issues related to the sea level. It related to a lot of different issues with concrete sawing and things. Also, they made toilets. 3 small toilets, but that was also a lot of different negotiations related to these few centimeters available and how to really work delicately.
Yeah, I think we could later, I could walk around and show some of those interventions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that'll be good. At the end, maybe we can do that.
Well, typically also highlights our building tradition.
And it also highlights how many years it actually took to build it, because there are levels there. If you go back, then you can see almost like these. It was done throughout many years. So there's 1 year and 1 year and 1 year. I think 7 different years represented here.
Wow.
But it's juniper material, and even in the lower levels, the needles are still on, and they were put on very early in 2001 or 2, and still the needles are on.
Okay. And then the next image is the library. And Matyas, do you feel like you built, like as a student in a small school, I feel like you have the potential to build the school yourself in terms of, I don't know, like I think you're organizing movie nights, or you can organize different events and sort of push boundaries and organization.
You absolutely feel that you can have some impact because of the size of the school and how the school is open. But I'm also part of the SOBAS group, so we are organizing events like dinners and parties. We also have to take care of the kitchen, so we have to, for example, now we figure out if we switch off the washing machine, the kitchen stays clean. If there's no washing machine, students actually clean after themselves. So you learn these little details, how to, participate on running the school.
Great segue into a question about BAS politics. So does BAS have a politics, or how would you define the politics?
At least we have to relate to politics, but we are part of these national forums where we discuss what role architecture education should have in Norway and what role architecture should have in Norway. And it's even this situating and the relations we have to do with our neighbors and the urban development, that's also about policy making. So, and in all our more society engaged projects, we also in many ways perform politically, but through grounding our subject of architecture as important in society, and through pointing why it is important and what role it can play in society. And we saw that very clearly, I think, in Oslo when we joined a panel discussion related to the refugee issue, when one of the representatives from the National Bureau of replacing and finding new housing possibilities for the refugees, he talked about how they could also find roles for architects. They also need curtains, and that seems to be a joke in many situations, but it's still said and it's still understood. So we have to position ourselves politically to show why we are important and what role we could play in society.
One project
and in urban development, that's another big issue where we should just be more engaged and more involved, not less.
I find it interesting. I was trying to do some Google image searching and Googling of BAS, and the one project that always comes back is this school in Chimondo, and it's really like the one thing that I feel like the first thing that really went global with on the internet or something, because it's always comes back. And it's about this architect in a foreign culture and trying to ground the project into something real that I find BAS is really attracting students, or it's kind of like the message that students get before they come there, if they're international at least. Maybe you can talk about this concept.
But yeah, we have had courses like this all from the start on a regular basis, but I think many other schools also do this now, and many of them also do it because in many respects and ways it's easier to manage to get something built informally another place than home. And there is so many sad examples around of projects that maybe work in the initial phase and in the constructional phase, but then they are very poorly constructed and they are very poorly maintained because it doesn't include the framework needed to really sustain the project. So we try to really negotiate now what kind of role we should have in building, and we see that through building our own things and through also building more in our vicinity, we can be more responsible actors in many ways.
Mm-hmm.
But this is a very nice project.
Yeah. Okay. Next, we wanted to talk about the vision, the future vision for BAS, and like maybe Cecilia, how you, as the head of the institution, feel like you can steer the school into a direction that you believe in, and if it's you know, a lot of politics involved with conversations with everybody, or how you believe it's done.
Yeah, now I just came down from our teachers' meetings where we have open meetings every month with all the teachers involved in the school. And I think most of the initiatives that in a way represents the school and shows the qualities of the school and challenge the qualities of the school, they are done by individual students and individual teachers, and it's their initiatives and their commitment to it that carries the whole thing. So my role is not the important role in maintaining or developing the school.
Maybe you could say how each master courses are developed, because it's not like, you know, isn't it that people can apply and create their own?
Yeah, we also discussed that today in the teachers meeting, because we just fixed now the autumn courses, and of course we have some teachers that are on contract in our school in 50% contracts and less, so they are then required to run courses from time to time, but we also always try to open up for other invited people to create courses, at least one course every semester. But these last few years it's been more, because we've been fortunate to have this situation where we can allow ourselves more moves. So we are now sitting on a table made by one course with Raumlabor.
Mm-hmm.
A very nice, long, yeah, very nice. So we try to negotiate and invite others to really come and infuse the school with input. That's also because our size, if it makes us vulnerable in any way, it is if we were just 3 or 4 or 5 teachers, fixed teachers. But now, although we are just 150 students, we have between 40 and 50 teachers engaged every year. Mm-hmm. So we get a big influx of voices, and that is what constitutes the school and the commitment from each one of them.
Yeah, so it's a clever way of managing also the finances, which is the next question, where I wanted to kind of ask the financial situation, especially in the beginning when it was a field school. I'm sure that there was a lot of issues, and now that it's a official school, there's some funding also from the government, I believe. But like, how is this new financial situation affecting BAS, and how? Like, you started answering the question already there.
Yeah.
Maybe you can elaborate on the financial.
And also with the background of you having so many teachers that come in and come out, and all these contracts that are basically changing all the time.
But that's short-time contracts, so that is more project-based contracts very often. And then that functions very well with active artists and architects. They take on a commission for school in a way. But also with the financial situation, we've been on the state budget for many years already now, so we think of our economy as very stable. It's thin and low, but it's stable. So we know what to expect, and we are fortunate to own our own building, for instance, and that gives us a lot of freedom and a lot of surplus value without costing us too much in a way. Mm-hmm. And we have sufficient economy to run the courses with enough teachers that we need, but if we compare our stock of tools in the workshops, or our digital platforms, or our content of numbers of volumes in the library, we are very small and peripheral, but we managed to create connections so that, for instance, the Tuba Cuba or other building projects, we work with other workshops to create them, where we can get these specific competencies and specific tools. We do the same with the library, where we can rent from everywhere. Mm-hmm. So, and with the engaged students, that's maybe the key always, that if it hadn't been for the commitment and the engagement of them, it would be very difficult to run a school like this. They have to, in a way, accept to freeze some time, and yeah, a lot of these things that are not accepted in ordinary institutions, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, but would you say that the idea of BAS and the idea in the beginning, when there was this land and the house in the countryside, to now the silo and this much better financial improvement that you went through now, do you think the idea of BAS changed, or this radical idea of what architecture should be, or do you think this mindset is still the same, even though there's, let's say, now more money involved?
For a long time, we were only granted money from the state because we were alternative. So that was, in a way, we had to keep alternative to get the grant, because either they supported state-run schools or they supported alternative schools, alternative to the state. But now that's not a requirement anymore, so that's not the reasons for us to be alternative. And we've also started to redefine this alternativeness in saying that we are not alternative for the sake of being alternative, but we want to provide the plurality of the voices, and we want to challenge with alternative ways. And we see that within the architectural educations in Norway, we are the smallest, but we are one of 3 established schools, and we are accepted nationally, but it's also important for the schools that there is somebody who can take risks in different ways and who can be more ad hoc in their actions and respond easier. So our organization and our structure enables us to be alternative easier than many of the other formats of schools, I think.
But do you position yourself actively in regard to the other 2 schools, or is it more something that just comes about because of the way it's set up in BAS?
We collaborate with them, and we have very good joint initiatives. So it's not like we need to compete with them. There are we need enough architects to have 3 schools in Norway, and we really think that we need BAS because we can provide a different approach to architecture that is needed in society.
Mm-hmm.
So you mentioned before that students are actually, they have a lot of, how do you say it, responsibility, and they kind of draw their own way of learning. And that led me to the question of Tadao Ando. I mean, we all know he kind of self-taught himself architecture. And do you think this is still possible, that an architect can be just an architect without going to school?
Yeah, I think I would like to believe that. And not to, yeah, but yeah, I would support that. And but I also think that we create a good framework for students both to self-teach, but also to learn in the position we create, where they exchange with other students, and that is a very vital part of it. But also not only with one teacher, but with this whole teacher collegium and with the society. Optimal that you teach from all these different grounds.
Yeah, maybe it's interesting to mention that I think you always have one artist and one architect at the master course, or something set up like this. It's not only architects teaching here, but it's a mixture of artists and architects. Which is,
so it's more inspiration than a leadership, you say? Okay.
It's more you have to kind of be self-motivated, I think.
Yeah,
right?
To go through that.
But okay, the next question is, maybe Matyas should tackle this one.
Yeah.
Which is, how does the place you learn shape the idea of what an architect, or maybe architecture, should be or is? So.
Yeah, I think for me, this is what I like about the school. It's not really trying to shape your ideas so much. It's more like opening the possibilities for your ideas. I mean, there are some teachers sometimes that are trying to tell you what is better and what's not and stuff like that. But I think in general, I don't feel like being pushed to any direction. I just feel like I have like widen up the palette of the opportunities, basically.
Hmm. Okay.
If it's the answer, it's okay.
There are many ways.
And so we have one last question, which is our favorite and very personal question.
We answer this to everyone.
And everybody gets this. And so it's your proudest and your moment and your least proud moment or biggest failure. So maybe Cecilia could take them and as her in her role.
And Matyas
And Matyas could talk about his student role.
That's a difficult one.
It's a difficult question.
Yeah.
Who wants to go first?
I was thinking.
Maybe it's those smaller things rather than those bigger things that feels the biggest.
I actually know. I think my proudest was when I caught like a big, nice mackerel outside of the school. Because we have those fishing poles. It was really, I was very happy with that.
Okay, we'll talk to you again in a few semesters.
Maybe it's still the fish.
And mine is maybe proudest moment when my son told me that, Mama, tomorrow you go for a trip because now you're too stressed. So he has grown to learn how to tackle my stress.
And you feel proud that you know that when you come back, BAS will still be standing, right?
Yeah.
Good. Is there anything you want to add?
We're having
talk
a
about?
bit of an internet lull.
Okay.
But we should get a tour.
Yeah.
Sorry, we cut out there for a second.
That's okay.
Here.
So then I leave you and you show around.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be good.
Great.
One thing I want to comment on before you go, if you go to the library, is that the floor is 70 centimeters thick.
70 centimeters, that's the heated floor.
You can't see it.
Yeah.
And the massiveness of the task, although they had machines for doing some of these jobs, but the organizing and to understand how you can create some facilitates
Okay.
books in a good way. It took a lot of.
It is the nicest library you can find.
But
the view is great, right?
I hope we are not glitched. Are you there, guys?
Yeah.
It's back. It's been a bit glitchy lately in the last.
Okay.
But then.
Yeah.
Yeah. I leave, and maybe when you show around, you don't really need to. You don't need to have film on them. You only film the other way.
Yeah, I mean, get the videos off. But thank you so much, Cecilia, for taking the time to talk to us.
Have a nice, good trip.
Good to see you. See you soon, I hope.
Bye bye. Hey, Matyas.
Okay, now we have to experiment with the BAS internet.
Yeah.
So maybe you can like even turn my video off. You can turn this video off. Okay. Might not work, but let's try.
Yeah.
Let's give it.
I think you have to move slowly.
Yeah.
Okay, you're back. We have you on screen.
Okay. So I think the first thing to show is the view.
Yes.
Right.
Okay. Where's the submarine?
So this is the. Yeah, this is one of those 10 days of the year when it doesn't rain. So you're extremely lucky to see that.
I heard there was even snow this year.
It was snowing yesterday. It was yesterday. The whole Bergen was under snow.
Okay.
So
where it gets experimental. Moving around the internet.
Let's pass live.
30 minutes. Wow.
12.
We will stay up there. But I think maybe it's too tricky with the intro.
Yeah, maybe we should turn it off.
I think it's over.
I mean, we have 3 minutes left for the 40 minutes, so let's give it 3 minutes, and then if it doesn't work,
You want to sing?
okay, Berg, do the song, please.
Sing something in Turkish.
I don't really know many songs.
Ucilan, inşallah.
That's not a song.
We're still online.
I can't whistle.
Okay, do a whistling thing until Matyas gets back to us. Okay, all right, Matyas, we lost Matyas, but thanks
Yeah.
everybody for a great talk. This is
was
our view
awesome.
here. This is our view here with a table under construction
And
some
snow.
and some snow. Thanks for
Great.
thanks for tuning in. Oh,
Have a good day. Matyas is
Joining.
gone.
thank you.
Goodbye, everyone.
Go visit BAS.
Bye-bye.